Good morning, good morning, good morning. You already know what time it is. This your boy, the historian. We got a quick edition of Bumper to Bumper for you this morning. Sit back, relax. I got you covered. Let's go. Birdcage. Hey man, it's a little chilly out here this morning, Colder. I say this, I wouldn't even say a mother's embrace because a mother's embrace is supposed to be warm. I would say it's just as cold as Jerry Jones on payday for a guy that he can't stand. But hey, let's get to it, man. This is your boy, the historian. Hey, hit that like and subscribe button for us here in the Birdcage so we can keep doing what we do for you guys. But man, look at all the offseason moves that are getting ready to be made, and look at all the bodies that are being released at this point. These are some of the guys who were top players in the league. But again, when you look at the way that things are going at this point, you see a lot of owners are willing to cut bait with guys that are established and bring in younger talent for little to nothing at this point. It's a money game at this point. They're trying to save money. They don't want to pay, and you're starting to see the results of that. You see a Trey Hendrickson is getting ready to get released pretty much. You pretty much see that Myles Garrett wants to leave. You see that Michael Parsons wants to leave, and it's so many others. But outside of the obvious, let's talk a little bit about San Francisco. You got Hargrave that's pretty much being released. Only 32 years old, still got a lot of gas left in the tank and a lot of tread on the tires and whatnot. He spent time in Philly. He's also spent time in Frisco. And he's definitely been doing his thing or whatnot. He's a product of South Carolina State, and that's a Buddy Pugh product. Shout out to the legendary Buddy Pugh at South Carolina State. And this is a guy that the Falcons could definitely look at this point and really bring in a veteran defensive tackle for the low. Now, if you really want to look at some things, Atlanta has been in contact with Cleveland. They've been in contact with Dallas. They've also been in contact with the Bengals. So those are three prime teams that we've been in contact with, and we're looking to make some moves that are going to bolster this pass rush. If you look at the pass rush at this point, the pass rush has been as suspect as OJ in 94. That's how bad it's been. And honestly, OJ kind of got away with it, but we're not getting away with this pass rush. Again, at this point, we've got to put ourselves in a position to make some things happen and really try to bolster this pass rush, because that's been an Achilles heel. Defensive tackle has been an Achilles heel for us. I know Grady is a fan favorite. He's a lifetime Falcon. I get it. But it comes to a point where you got to know when to cut a man loose. Grady at this point needs to be cut loose, folks. When you sit back and you think about it, he's given us all he's had. He wants to be a lifetime Falcon. But the question is, at what price? The production is not matching the numbers, folks. It is not matching the numbers. So we've got to get better production out of him. But at this point, he got to restructure that contract and give some of that money back if he wants to stay. That's how I'm looking at it. You've got to give up a little bit of something because you're not producing for what you want. We don't need to pay you just because of good graces and what you've done in the past. As Janet Jackson would say, what have you done for me lately? That's my question. What have you done for me lately? That's where we're at with it. And then you look at the linebacking core at this point. Many great linebackers, as we said last night on the show, that could come to Atlanta and be a problem. Jahad Campbell is a guy that a lot of people are clamoring for. Dallas Turner was that last year, but here's my thing. Dallas Turner was lost in the sauce last year in Minnesota. Wasn't that impact player like you would think he would have been and all the hype that he got. I get it. This is his first year. But at the same time, he wouldn't have done nothing for us in Atlanta. You have fandom that goes on, and a lot of fans don't look at the fact that certain guys just don't fit in the system. Now, I'm going to give you a guy that fits in Atlanta's system when you talk about being able to be a coverage linebacker, being able to blitz, and being able to play. We said last night Smile Munden would be a guy that you can get in the later rounds. And he definitely is a guy that can run, that guy can tackle, the guy can blitz. So when you really sit back and you look at it, he's a Swiss Army knife at that linebacker spot, and that's something that we need. And honestly, you don't want to bring in a Jahad Campbell because guess what? He and Caden Ellis pretty much do the same thing. Literally, they do the same thing. He's a little bit better in coverage than Caden Ellis, but they practically are the same player. But the difference is Jahad is a bit of an upgrade when you talk about the speed, you talk about the aggressiveness, and you talk about the heads-up savvy at that linebacker spot and the athleticism. I think that's the only thing that separates them. But they're very similar in their playing styles, and I think either way, you can't go wrong with that linebacker spot. I'm looking at it from a standpoint of we might need to go get DJ Reed out of the free agency side of things. When you look at the corner side, if you're not going to draft a cornerback at this point, you've got to go get somebody with some experience that has also played an Ulbrich system and a guy that's willing to come over to Atlanta. Now, it's a name that I'll bring up that a lot of people have forgotten about, and that's Isaiah Oliver. Isaiah Oliver was bad at corner for us, but before he left to go to the Jets and he actually was a safety, he started to come around. As you saw him matriculate and mature at the safety position in New York, he was one of the best. He was one of the top safeties in the league. Quiet as it's kept. The numbers don't lie. They didn't get talked about that much, but at the end of the day, he's one of those guys that can actually bring some value to your defense at this point. Sometimes it takes for you to go away and then come back, kind of like prodigal son. Shout out to my Bible readers out there this morning. Amen. But I look at it like this. We've got to have some familiarity on this defense, and not just familiarity, folks. We've got to have a lot of cohesion on this defense because defense has been an Achilles heel for us this year. I mean, the last couple of years, this decade. Outside of 2017, we've literally been buns. Literally. B-U-N-Z, not B-U-N-S, B-U-N-Z, buns. And until the defense is fixed, doesn't matter how many touchdowns Michael Penix throws. Doesn't matter how many touchdowns Bijan runs for. I'll tell you this here. One of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, Dan Marino, had all the numbers, all the adulation, and everything else going. But guess what? No defense. No defense. And when you look at the fact that he had no defense at that time, they were averaging 35, 40 points a game, and they still could not get it done. They get to the playoffs and get obliterated. Obliterated. So again, until you fix this defense, you're pretty much going to waste Michael Penix's career. I said it. A lot of people aren't going to like me saying it, but it's just the truth. All it'll be is we'll be sitting there rooting for this guy to get in the record books, but he won't have championships. Pretty much point blank, period. Defense wins championships, offense takes you there. And unless your offense is able to play defense, you're not going to win anything. Only thing you're going to do is be in shootouts. And all one team needs is one stop, and that pretty much ends a shootout. So I look at it from a standpoint of you've got to bolster that defense. You've got to bolster that defense. And I don't know who's talking to Terry Fontenot, Raheem Morris, and also Arthur Blank. They've got to get a little bit louder in these gentlemen here. They've got to get a little bit louder, and they've got to put an emphasis on that. You've got to just not make splashes. You've got to bring in guys that are going to be able to play. Braden Trice is going to be coming back this year with a knee. I apologize about that. Phone went rogue. He's going to be coming back off of a knee injury, and that right there is going to be a telltale sign because when you look at guys that come back off of injuries of that magnitude, it's always a mental thing. The question is, can Trice go back to the days of what he was like at Washington? That's what we're looking at. Then we're also looking for Brandon Dorlus to be in a situation to where he can actually produce. At this point, he hasn't even touched the field because he struggled with the playbook. He struggled to beat out guys that he should. But now you're in your second year. You've been in the system for a year. You understand what you need at this point. So what we need from this young man is to come out, ball out, and do some things. We need Ruka Roro to stay healthy this year. They traded up and got him. They traded up and got him. And when you look at how they acquired him, it was just one of those things where you say, why would you trade up to get a guy that would have been there at that point? But maybe Terry knew something we didn't. However, he's not a true zero technique. He's not a true no defensive tackle. He literally plays gaps better. He's not a guy that's going to sit there and anchor that line. You can't put that on that gentleman. He can play, yes, but again, as John Randall used to like to say, 6-footers for life. He's a 6-footer for life, but he's a little light in the ass to be holding up that D tackle spot. Now, the technique is flawless, but at the end of the day, you got to look at the strength. You got to look at the size. What does he bring? He's a bit of a plug, but you got to put him in a position where he can use his quickness, because when we drafted him, no, I wasn't a fan of it. I'll admit it, and I have no problem with saying it. But the one thing that I can say that was similar, he plays like John Randall. You look at his motor. You look at how he's undersized at that D tackle spot, and you look at how he battles. That is what separates him because of his motor. However, your motor can only get you but so far. You know, you can't put a mini Range Rover truck against a semi 18-wheeler. It just don't work like that. So again, when you look at what Atlanta needs to fix in the trenches, we need to get somebody that's, as I said before, somebody that's got a belly that you can put in the wheelbarrow, dropping in front of them with no ankles, and literally they got that arm fat on the back of their triceps or whatnot that you would see at the church while the old lady is mixing them collard greens. That's what I'm looking for if I'm gonna get me a defensive tackle. I need big boys. That's what we need in the front to protect these linebackers and also to take a lot of the pressure off of these edge rushers. So at this point, we have to do that. And the other thing we have to address, as we said last night, you got to look at a safety. This draft is loaded defensively. There are some that say they feel like it's talent in the draft, but they don't feel as if it's that deep. But this draft is deep with talent, and you're talking about a lot of guys who could be first round picks. Just saying, but there's only 32 slots for guys to be drafted in the first round, and there are more than 32 players that are going to be coming in that can play. So again, it's either going to be hit or miss, as it always is, but this is one of the deepest defensive drafts that you've seen, and then this is a deep running back draft. There are a lot of great talented running backs in this draft that definitely are extraordinary, and they are generational talents at their back position in this draft. So again, a lot of people don't want to hear it, and I said it a long time ago. This was the year to draft your running back. This was the year to draft your running back. But the front office went in a whole different space because of Arthur Smith. Bijan is a talented player, but there are guys out here that definitely can do what he's doing. Ashton Genty is one. I mean, Ollie Gordon is another one who's nasty with it if he stays healthy. I mean, when you look at it, there are tons of running backs in this draft that are that good. They do everything. So again, we sell a bill of goods to put asses in seats in Atlanta. However, I'm happy we got offensive productivity. He was one of the top 3 backs in the league this year between him, Saquon, and Derrick Henry out of Baltimore. They were literally in that position to where they made a lot of things happen, and this was the year of the running back. You look at all the running backs in the NFL that put up great numbers, and not just put up great numbers, they also put themselves in a position to where they could get paid. So depending on how this regime moves and operates, we're still going to be saying the same things we've been saying forever. Defense wins championships, offense takes you there. So at the end of the day, folks, let's go ahead and make this thing happen. So this is your boy, the historian. I'm out. Y'all know how we got to do it. Got to punch that clock. Y'all be easy, be blessed, be safe. Hey, man, much love. Catch y'all on the next one. Tonight at 8 p.m., we got Wally Jones. Y'all check that out, please. Great interview talking about his days with the Philadelphia 76ers, playing with Wilt Chamberlain, winning championships, and definitely is a a staple and a Philly legend. Y'all be blessed. We out of here. Peace.